Welcome to Acton in Focus. I'm Vivian Kopsinje-Birchall, your host, and my special guest is Wanjiku Gachugi. I don't know whether it's called DEI still, Director for the town of Acton.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes, I still have the same title. Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's been a few months since you were here. Maybe we'll just start with what are some of the changes that have happened in your department?
I actually don't remember when I was here. One of the changes probably has been that the interns that we had have now gone back to school.
Okay.
That has been one of the major changes, so to speak. But then we always have interns in the summer and then they leave, which is unfortunate because we love to have interns and bringing in fresh ideas and new ideas. The two initiatives that that we have been actively working on, or that I've been actively working on, is the Acton's first public service academy. So that's going to begin at the beginning of March, and that's a 10-week program. So the only requirements are to commit to the full 10 weeks, and then there's also the town meeting requirement, which that one is quite. It can be quite time consuming because of the evenings, and town hall might end up going for 2 days. The other initiative that we've been working on is the DEI office got a grant, a $50,000 grant, a community compact grant, and we've been working with the health department on the parts where the two grant activities converge, and we just completed, I believe we did over 20 focus groups.
Wow.
Yes, so Penny and I have been extremely busy. We just concluded our last focus group session with the public on Tuesday night. Yes.
Good job.
Yes.
And speaking of those focus group discussions, are there any, I know every answer, every response is valued, but are there any striking responses that you've seen through that study that were more eye-opening, like an aha moment?
So there have been lots, right? Because each group brought in their unique perspective, right? And something that we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the raw data, like the raw narratives, and then coming up with themes. So we haven't quite done that. I would say from my recollection, something that was across all various focus groups, and then even people that stakeholders that we interviewed across the board, it has been a very strong commitment for the Acton community, for everybody to have a sense of well-being. Like, this is not only their community, this is our community, and how can we make our community better? Right. So that, I would say, has been like the overarching theme throughout all of them. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And maybe just to backtrack a little bit, what was this study? I think we've skipped that part.
No problem. No problem. We can go all different areas. So the study is an equity audit, and the equity audit is an internal equity audit, meaning internal within town hall, and that includes all departments. And then there is the external part, which is involving the community. And the part that involves the community is the part where the community health assessment, which the health department is doing, those were the places where there was now a convergence. So in looking at the external part of the equity audit, it's been how do people engage with town hall? The part of it that has to do with the equity audit, not the community health assessment, or the community equity health assessment. So how do people interact and engage with town hall? Are people familiar with civic bodies, with the select board, with the boards and committees? How well do people get communication from the town? Something else is also how trusting are they of town government.
Right.
And that includes all departments, right? So it's not just communication or how people feel about the town manager's office, where my office is, but in all departments. So how trusting are you with DPW? How
Right.
trusting are you with the fire department? Yeah.
So like any survey, of course, I'm going to ask, what was your sampling size and how did you select your respondents and focus groups?
Yes. So it was really based on, we had some community ambassadors.
Okay.
And I forget exactly how many we had, but I if my memory serves me correctly, which I do not want to rely on my memory, I believe initially we had about maybe 5.
Okay.
And these are people that have been identified with other departments, people who have connections to various communities. And when I say communities, like for example, there is a community ambassador who is very tied into the South Asian population, right? So she was instrumental in helping us get people in Acton who identify as South Asian.
Right.
Now, was it every South Asian in Acton? No, it wasn't. So our limitation was that we were relying a lot on our meaning my and Penny's connections, as well as the community ambassadors. We also put out information in a variety of different places. And Penny and I have had several conversations that we understand our limitations, and we also understand that in the way that information goes out, not everybody got the information at the same time.
Right.
So we completely understand that after the final report is done, when we're having this discussion in June,
Right.
there might be some people that say, I had no idea about what was going on, and they could be absolutely right.
Right.
So yeah, and this is something that, this meaning the conversation is not something that when the final report comes out, that's it. Now we're done and now we've concluded our work. It's absolutely not that. If anything, it's the beginning in very many ways. Yes.
And of course, recognizing all the limitations you may have, not you as an individual, but the departments. A very quick one about the data that you're collecting. So when I spoke to Penny, of course, she mentioned that part of the data being collected is narratives.
Yes.
And of course, others might be questionnaires that are, you just click whichever response. So who is going to analyze that data, and how, from what you've received so far, how much of that is narrative and how much in terms of estimated percentages is the, selection?
So there is the aspect of the data which is from the structural equity side, that is both qualitative and quantitative, right?
Okay.
In terms of percentages, which one is greater, that I don't know.
Okay.
Because as a social scientist, I don't want to put more weight on one more than the other.
Got it.
Because they're both absolutely important.
Yes.
The data that's been gathered, so the narratives coming from the focus groups, also coming from a variety of different experts and stakeholders. And when I say that, because I also want to be clear as to who I'm talking about, we interviewed several people from the schools, right? Several experts from the schools. We're going to be, from the town side, we're going to be having a variety of, and some have already taken place, focus groups with staff, focus groups with department heads, right? So then there's those narratives. And then there's also policies, policies that the town has. When we're talking about I'm trying to think of a policy. A policy having to do with, there was a policy that I created some time ago on animals, service animals, right? So looking at that kind of data to kind of create a picture of, is the town a place where equity is considered? Is equity applicable?
Right.
Do certain departments understand it or grasp it in a way that another department does not, for example? To answer your question on who is gathering this data, so it's a third party.
Okay.
So with the grant, we put out a call, and we had several consulting groups who applied. Excuse me. We ended up going with a consulting group called 3x3, and 3x3 is the main consulting group, but there's another one, ACBC. So there are two, and they both accepted the. They're both getting paid from the grant. Yes.
Right. And then back again to what you mentioned earlier, that you are doing internal audits, but also external audits. And part of what you're looking at is how the town government engages with the community.
Yes.
And when you mentioned some of the categories of people, respondents, I didn't quite, pick out on how you're getting some questionnaires to the community. You've talked about the schools, the teachers, and some other focus groups. So what has been the strategy to get feedback from the community itself, the residents who use these services, residents, businesses, and all that?
So when I want to make sure that I understand the question. So how did we reach out to them?
Yeah, what was the strategy, and to what extent, what was the response like?
The response, I would say, was, I'd say mixed because as the momentum grew of the focus groups, then we would get more participation. The focus groups were centered on different populations.
Okay.
So there was a focus group centered on people with disabilities. We had quite a few people that were interested in that. My assumption is that some communities, and again, our limitation is we only know so much, right? So I'm the staff liaison for the COD, the Commission on Disabilities. There are people who serve on the Commission on Disabilities that are well integrated with people who live in Acton, who are people with disabilities. So then, for example, that focus group, we were able to get quite a few number of people, right? And again, the way that we were putting out this call were people who I knew, and then relying on people who I knew to then spread the information that way. So that was absolutely our limitation. When it came to certain experts or certain stakeholders, we didn't interview any teachers. Who we were interviewing were administrators at the school.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then is there, some of the maybe best practices you've picked out from this process, or even from interacting with other towns in terms of, first of all, engaging the community in ways that builds, equitable practices, both for the town and for the residents? Yeah.
So the question is, what have we learned from this? From this specific process?
Yes.
I would say definitely the collaboration with different town departments was instrumental in identifying community ambassadors. So the sustainability department, they do a lot of outreach. So we relied a lot on them to be able to inform us and connect us to community ambassadors, right? So it was good that prior to us getting this grant, I actually created what we call ourselves is Acton for Pro Action.
Okay, I love that.
And it's different departments, and we were meeting once a month. Now our meetings have kind of slowed down a little bit because I've been focusing so much on the focus groups. But we were meeting once a month and just honest to goodness, just collaborating. Like, what is working well in your department? Oh, I hadn't even considered that. And that really allowed for us to be able to even know how to do outreach, because I'm a department of one. So figuring out all of this on my own would have been impossible for me to do.
Absolutely.
With the time frame, right? So relying on how Ian does his outreach, relying on sustainability, how they do their outreach. So that I would say was absolutely critical. And again, and I keep highlighting the limitations because this is the first time that Penny and I had undertaken something like this, right? So in us doing it, I would say we had very high hopes of doing it. We absolutely wanted to do it right. We didn't want anybody or any community to feel left out. That being said, it also became clear to us how the mechanisms that we have for distributing information, sometimes it was not reaching the populations that we were trying to reach. Sometimes it was very honestly because we didn't have any contacts in that community. We just don't, right? Sometimes it would be a situation given with what is going on globally and nationally and, you know, in our state, in our town, with what's going on with people not feeling safe. And specifically, I'm talking about the people who are immigrants, people of color, you know. So those were things that we were definitely aware of. We tried our best to provide spaces where it can be comfortable. A lot of our meetings were on Zoom. And on Zoom, you didn't have to show your face if you didn't want to show your face. You didn't have to have your real name if you didn't want to have your real name. So we, within the best way that we possibly could, we try to be able to have something that's inclusive. Lessons learned, I would definitely say, is our connections to certain communities definitely stood out. Even though, like, for example, we relied very heavily on the AB Resource Center, right? And they were absolutely instrumental in getting information out. But then again, our assumption, because it is an assumption, is that there was low turnout from, and specifically I'm thinking about like immigrant groups, just because of the safety aspect of it right now. You know, if this were done, I don't know, 5 years from now, maybe we would have had a different outcome. Maybe not. I have no idea. But yeah, we'll just continue to reach out to those groups and encourage those groups and people to also reach out to us. Because our intent is to create a strategic plan that's going to be inclusive of Acton, and everybody who lives and works here is a part of that community.
Absolutely. No, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, the safety aspect, especially in the immigrant community, because I hosted the Director of Health, Penny, a few days ago. And one of my concerns was, you know, that I didn't quite see, you know, this was in the context of wellness initiatives or programs specifically targeting people who might not have access to these programs because of fear. Some of them it's because of economic reasons, others political reasons, or immigration, not political per se, but immigration related. And so just even hearing about that, you know, your perspective in the context of data collection and being able to engage with surveys and narratives is very eye-opening. And so in that context, you know, as your work becomes even more critical at this time, as you envision, you know, the next 5 years, what do you have in place? And first of all, I need to thank you for thinking about their safety and especially providing virtual options, which again, even though they are, you know, from my interaction with some of these communities, that's still not safe enough. You know, because you leave digital footprints, you know, there's always the possibility of, you know, being surveilled through those systems. But what do you envision as, you know, creative strategies for reaching out to people who might not be one to reach out to at this point? Because again, you're coming up with a strategic plan. We need their voice as well because they're residents.
Yes. First, I want to say this clearly because we can only do what we can do.
Correct.
Right? So our intent is to have a strategic plan that's going to be inclusive and going to be equitable.
That's the intent.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're making efforts to do it.
Right.
Right? We're also using empirical data to be able to develop this strategic plan, right? So this is not just something that lives in Wanjiku's mind, right? This is something that can also be backed up by data, right? Empirical data, let me be clear about that. And when there's the end product of what the strategic plan is going to be, right? And they have all the implementation goals and all the recommendations and all of that, as we're doing the work, because again, that document is not going to be the end all be all, right? As we're doing the work, we're also learning as we're doing the work. So let's say, I don't know, 6 months into us implementing this strategic plan, there are a group of immigrants and they say, this is what is going on in our community, and the town is not doing blah, blah, blah in satisfying our needs. At that point, now we have new information.
Got it.
You know, and with that new information, it's like, okay, with what the information now that we're getting, let's say, and I'm going to make up a random situation. Let's say we need more signs in the color blue, right? Then we would have to assess, okay, there needs to be more signs in the color blue because the signs that are in the color green, nobody can read, right? Then now we have to also look into the information that we have. How can we be able to financially support more signs in the color blue, right? So again, I'm bringing this up not in a, in a way to say that we also understand that the strategic plan is a roadmap, right? It is not the end all be all.
It's a living document.
Exactly. There you go. Yes. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
This is it's great to know because oftentimes one might think, okay, the strategic plan did not include this, then we're not going to be able to, pivot as needed.
Yeah.
But so good to know that, it's a living document and it will be, adjusted as we go along. With that said, is there anything we haven't talked about your department? Because I want to make sure that we've covered everything before I let you go.
Yes. Well, we're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers.
Okay.
And I'm saying that laughing, but I am very serious because the work of equity involves people.
Got it.
Without people, then there's no work, right? Acton is one of the communities that has this office, has a DEI office. Acton is one of the places that still has a DEI office. So I encourage the Acton community to be involved with the DEI office. And I cannot say that loudly enough because just like with what we've found out, there are some communities that I've just not had an opportunity to engage with. And for whatever reason, it's just happened that way.
Are you comfortable to mention some of them so that we're aware?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like the immigrant community, I'm definitely not in, I'm not as engaged as I would like to be. And even in that immigrant community, with the Chinese immigrant, like people who are Chinese or have ancestry that's Chinese, the South Asian, the African, the Brazilian, people that speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, I don't speak Brazilian Portuguese either. The Haitian community. I would want to be more engaged with various communities. Parents, for example, that's a community that unfortunately I don't live in Acton. So I don't have any children that go to school here. But I would like to hear from them how it is, because also something that has come that I have heard from from the focus groups is that there's the world of the schools, and then there's the other world. So if you don't have children who go to Acton Public Schools, you are not engaged in that world.
That's
right? So various communities. Yeah.
No, it's important, and I really wanted these communities amplified because it's important for our viewers to understand the task that lies ahead in terms of engaging these communities, and the I don't want to call it a burden, but the heavy lifting you, as a one-person office is doing, you know, to try and get all these communities engaged, but only also to amplify the fact that these communities exist and they deserve engagement, but for various reasons that I guess at this point we call on the other members of the community who are more integrated into the systems to work with you to make sure that we bring everyone on board. Now, with that said, what is your ask for us as residents of Acton?
Yes. So I would say my assumption is that
I like that.
my assumption is that some people, because I absolutely have people that are engaged with me, and I love the fact that they're emailing me, giving me ideas. I love that. Please keep that coming, right? I am going to assume that some people don't reach out to me, don't email, or don't even email the town manager's office because things are going well. Right? That is also can live in this world, right? And the reason that I am framing it that way is because it's also good for town employees as well as my office to hear what's going well, right? Because then when we hear about what's going well, then maybe that's going well, we can amplify that. You know, we are a town that I am a department that loves feedback. And I want to know areas of improvement as well as areas that I'm doing well. Because if I don't hear any feedback, then it's like, oh gosh, well, maybe it was just not a good program. And then I don't do it again. And then 2 years later, it's like, whatever happened to that? It was such a good program. And there's also the realization as a town employee that engagement has different levels, right? And it's important for me to also remember that. So with the focus groups that we did, in some focus groups, we only had 2 people in there. For me, it was like liquid gold, because then now I ended up hearing, even though it was from 2 people's perspectives, but I would never had an opportunity to engage with these 2 people. So to me, it was an opportunity. Well, let me get more information as much as possible, right?
Milk it.
Yes.
Mine it, actually not milk.
Yes. And at the first glance, it's like, oh man, only 2 people? Goodness, right? But then reframing it like, it was only 2 people, but my goodness, the depth that we were able to go into with these 2 people, that's priceless, right? So having to remind myself what success looks like and what failure looks like. Yes. Yeah.
That's very important. You know, what is the litmus test for success and failure? Especially in this context.
Yes.
So this is excellent, and I cannot wait to bring you back to give us more updates on the work coming ahead and the programs coming that you have in mind. But for now, really, I want to thank you for for being a guest as always, and for the work that you do for our town.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you, for constantly encouraging me to come here, because it is good to be able to speak about what we're doing, and get people's engagement in what it is that we're doing and people's opinion.
Otherwise we wouldn't know all the challenges you have, or the hurdles you have to overcome to do the work that you do.
That's true. Yes.
And to our viewers, I hope you can reach out to her, to Wanjiku. You can learn more about the work that she does. Visit the website actonma.gov to yeah, to find her contacts and reach out. But for now, thank you for watching. Till next time.